Sit with this for a second. You have read a goal silently before, most likely many times. The eyes move across the line. The inside narrator says the words at a low volume. The body stays still. The moment ends without anything in the room having changed. You closed the page. You went on with the day. By evening, the line was gone. Now picture the same line said differently, spoken aloud, slowly, for 5 full minutes. The voice fills the small room you are sitting in. The chest moves to carry the sound. The ears hear what the mouth is producing. The eyes follow what the voice is doing. The breath engages. The body is in the act. 2 versions of the same sentence. The surface looks similar. Underneath, 2 completely different things are happening. The lineage figured this out about 90 years ago. Hill wrote it down in chapter 4 of a book published in 1937. He prescribed reading a definite chief aim statement aloud twice daily, morning and night, with feeling, until the words were committed to memory and woven into the operator. He prescribed it because he had spent 20 years across the table from over 500 of the wealthiest people in America, on a commission given by Andrew Carnegie in 1908, and he had watched the same mechanism operate in nearly every one of them. The question worth sitting with is simple. What is the machinery doing during those 5 minutes? What gears are turning that stay still during the silent read? We are going to walk through it, layer by layer. 6 gears, 1 phenomenon. The first gear is the bridge. The conscious mind sits at the top of the architecture. It chooses, it reasons, it decides what to look at, what to entertain, what to dismiss. Underneath it is the deeper mind, the part that runs everything you handle without thinking about it. Heartbeat, breathing, balance, the words that come out of your mouth in conversation, the way you turn the wheel without looking at your hands, the way your face arranges itself in the morning before you have decided what kind of day to have. That deeper layer accepts what gets impressed on it. It receives the impression and builds reality out of it. The question every operator of this machinery eventually arrives at is the same. How does an instruction from the top layer get into the bottom layer? The conscious mind can think a thought. Fine. Thinking a thought leaves the program running underneath untouched. Anyone who has tried knows this. You can think positive thoughts for an hour and walk away with the same emotional weather you had when you sat down. You can decide silently to change your life and find yourself, 3 weeks later, in the same room with the same habits and the same results. Hill named the bridge Autosuggestion, the bridge between the conscious mind and the deeper mind. Deliberate feeding of instructions through repeated emotionalized statements directed at yourself. Look at what is inside that definition. Repeated, emotionalized, directed. A silent read passes none of the 3 cleanly. The repetition is thin because silent reading feels efficient and the conscious mind moves on after 1 pass. The emotion has nowhere to live because the body is still and the voice is silent. The direction is unclear because the inside narrator runs at low volume and the deeper mind treats it as background traffic. An aloud read for 5 minutes passes all 3. The repetition is built into the duration. 5 minutes of 1 statement, read slowly, is many passes over the same line. The emotion has somewhere to live because the chest is moving and the voice is engaged and the body is participating. The direction is unmistakable because you are saying it to yourself out loud, the way a person says something to another person sitting across a small table. That is the first thing the machinery is doing. It is opening the bridge. You with me? Picture an underground river feeding the trees on a piece of land. You have never seen the river. The trees grow above it. Every tree on that land draws from the same source. The deeper mind is the river. The results in your life are the trees. The bridge is the place where you can drop something into the water. A silent thought sits at the surface and dries in the sun. A spoken instruction repeated with feeling sinks into the current and travels. In a person doing the silent read, the goal stays on the page. In a person doing the aloud read, the goal leaves the page and enters the current. By minute 1, the instruction is being received. By minute 5, it has been received many times in succession by a layer that treats today's Aloud reading and yesterday's Aloud reading and the day before's Aloud reading as one continuous instruction. The trees grow differently. They draw from a different source. The growth is the only place the difference becomes visible above ground. Let that sit for a second. The application window for this is observable. A person who has been silently considering starting a business for 6 months sits in a chair, runs the thought in the head, files it, runs it again, files it again. 6 months of one-channel processing. The thought is still a thought. The same person speaking the sentence aloud daily for 2 weeks carries the words in the body. The ears hear the decision. The deeper mind has begun receiving the instruction across the bridge. Small actions appear without planning. A phone call gets made. A name gets written down. A conversation gets initiated. The bridge is open. Material is crossing. Okay, so that is one gear turning. The next one engages at the same time. The second gear is multi-channel input. A silent thought uses one channel. The inside narrator says the line at low volume. The conscious mind hears it. One wire carrying one signal. Reading the line aloud changes the wiring entirely. The eyes are running across the words. That is one channel. The voice is producing the sentence. That is a second. The ears are hearing the voice. That is a third. The breath is engaging to carry the voice through the room. That is a fourth. The chest and throat and jaw are participating in the act of speaking. That is a fifth. And if you do it with feeling, if the words mean something to you in the moment, the emotion rides on top of all of that. That is a sixth. 6 channels firing on the same instruction, simultaneously, for 5 minutes. Hill called it autosuggestion. Nightingale called it impression. Proctor drew it on a whiteboard, with arrows running from the top of the stick person down through the entire figure. The architecture is the same in every version. The deeper mind accepts an instruction with force proportional to the number of channels feeding it and the emotion riding on it. One channel makes a faint impression. 6 channels make a strong one. One channel for 30 seconds makes a forgettable impression. 6 channels for 5 minutes makes a permanent one. The science caught up about 60 years later. Modern brain imaging confirmed that speaking, hearing oneself speak, and feeling the meaning of what one is saying all activate different parts of the inner architecture at once. And the convergence creates a much stronger record than any single input could. Hill documented this in Chapter 4 through pure observation. The instruments confirmed what observation had already shown. Picture a small room with a single guitar string vibrating. The sound is thin. Now picture 6 strings vibrating on the same note. The sound fills the room. The air itself begins to carry it. The 5-minute Aloud read is 6 strings on one note for 5 minutes. The silent read is 1 string for 30 seconds. The room knows the difference. If this is hitting you right now, drop a like. It helps get this in front of the right people. The application window for this gear is everywhere if you know how to look. A person silently considering a major life change for 6 months remains in deliberation. The thought lives in the head, gets considered, gets filed, gets reconsidered. The same person speaking the sentence aloud daily for 2 weeks notices the body taking small steps the head did not plan. Calls happen. Meetings get scheduled. A direction begins to organize itself. A person silently considering ending a draining relationship for 2 years remains in deliberation. The same person who says the sentence aloud to themselves in the car on a drive home initiates the conversation within days. The body acts on the instruction once the instruction has reached the body. A person reading a goal statement aloud while scrolling a phone is on partial channels. The voice is flat. The body is elsewhere. The emotion is absent. The practice reports as ineffective. The same person sitting in a quiet room reading the same statement once daily, with the body engaged and the feeling present, reports that the practice has rearranged the daily movement of their life within weeks. The mechanism is the same. The channel count is what differs. Good. That is the second gear. The third changes the equation. The third gear is the filter. There is a part of the mind that decides what reaches your awareness. The world produces far more sensory information every second than the conscious mind can process. The system filters. It deletes most of what is available. It forwards a small slice. The slice that gets forwarded is determined by what the deeper mind has been told to look for. This is the part that explains why a person who has just decided to buy a particular car suddenly sees that car everywhere. The cars were always on the road. The filter was deleting them. The instruction changed. The filter changed. Now the cars appear. This is also the part that explains why a person who has just decided they are unwelcome at work begins to notice every glance, every silence, every door that closes nearby. The glances and silences and doors were always there. The filter was deleting them. The instruction changed. The filter changed, the evidence appears. The filter forwards what matches the query the deeper mind has been carrying. It does what it has always done. A definite purpose statement spoken aloud for 5 minutes is an instruction to the filter. It is saying, in the language the deeper mind understands, look for this. Forward anything related to this. Within hours of a fresh aloud reading, the filter is operating on the new instruction. Within days, it is forwarding material the conscious mind never noticed before. Names of people, lines in articles, conversations overheard, opportunities that were sitting in plain view and getting filtered out because the deeper mind had no instruction to keep them. A person doing the silent read leaves the filter on its existing setting. The same material gets deleted today that got deleted yesterday. The same material gets forwarded. The world looks the same because the slice being shown is the same. A person doing the aloud read for 5 minutes daily is gradually retuning the filter. Week 1, faint shifts. Week 2, more material reaching awareness. Week 3, the world looks subtly different because the slice being forwarded has changed. Picture a small radio in the corner of a room. Hundreds of stations are in the air at the same moment, all of them transmitting, all of them present. The radio plays the one the dial is set to. The dial is set by the instruction the deeper mind is running. A statement spoken aloud for 5 minutes is the hand on the dial. The silent read is the hand near the dial. Near sits in a different category than on. Nightingale used this analogy on the radio broadcasts that became the strangest secret in 1956. The recording became the first spoken word record to receive a gold record and sold over 1 million copies. The line he kept coming back to was simple. The signals are always there. The receiver is yours. What plays in the room is your decision, even when you have forgotten you were the one who set the dial. The filter accepts the new instruction the same way it accepted the old one. It forwards what matches the query. The query is whatever has been impressed on the deeper mind most recently, with the most emotion across the most channels. The 5-minute aloud read is that query getting renewed twice a day, morning and night. The filter wakes up to a fresh query in the morning. The filter goes to sleep with the renewed query at night. The application window for this gear is observable. A person who has read a purpose statement aloud for 3 weeks reports noticing names and faces and information they had not consciously registered before. A book opens to a page that contains the exact sentence they needed. A conversation in line at a coffee shop carries a piece of information that fits their situation. They begin saying things like, "The universe is sending me signs." The filter has been retuned, and material that was always present is now being forwarded instead of deleted. A person who has held the same query for years continues to receive the same slice, the same names, the same faces, the same conversations slipping past without registering. The world is unchanged. The receiver is what shifted. Drop a comment and tell us which part of this you are going to sit with for a while. That is the third gear. The fourth gets specific to the body. You can feel this one if you have ever done it. The body changes during an aloud read of a definite purpose statement. The shift is subtle. The breath deepens. The shoulders set slightly differently. The chest carries the voice. The pupils respond when the statement contains language about something genuinely wanted. The body's chemistry shifts because the body responds to the instruction the same way the filter does. It begins preparing for it. Hill called the body an instrument of the mind. Every condition in the body reflects the programming of the deeper mind. Proctor put the body at the bottom of the stick-person diagram. Conscious mind on top, deeper mind in the middle, body at the bottom. The body acts out whatever the deeper mind is running. During a silent read, the body sits. The chemistry stays where it was. The breath stays where it was. The thought rolls around in the top circle and stays there. During a 5-minute Aloud read with feeling, the body participates from the start. The instruction has run through the bridge, used multiple channels, reached the bottom of the architecture. The body begins to operate as if the instruction were already partly true. The posture of someone reading a definite purpose statement aloud looks observably different from the posture of someone reading silently. The walk afterward carries something the silent reader's walk does not. The voice on the next phone call carries something it did not carry before. This is mechanics. The body responds to the instruction the deeper mind is carrying. Change the instruction, change the response, repeat the new instruction long enough, and the response becomes the new baseline. A person who has done this practice for 30 days operates from a different baseline than the person they were on day 1. Circumstances stayed where they were. The instruction running underneath the circumstances changed, and the body is executing the new program. Picture a thermostat. Proctor used this analogy for 60 years on stage. He used it because it lands. The thermostat is set to a particular temperature. The room moves around that temperature and the system always pulls back to the set point. If the room gets too cold, the heat comes on. If it gets too warm, the heat shuts off. The set point is the law. Everything else adjusts. The deeper mind holds a set point for what your body should feel like, how you should be perceived, what kind of room you should be in, how much should be in the account, what kind of work you should be doing, what kind of person should be sitting across from you at the table. The set point was installed by repetition long ago, most of it before age 7. It enforces itself daily without your permission. A 5-minute Aloud read with feeling, done daily, is the hand reaching toward the dial of the thermostat. Light contact, day after day. The set point moves over time. Repeated contact with the dial over many weeks does the work. The application window for this is everywhere. A person who has read a definite purpose statement aloud daily for 90 days carries themselves differently. The voice is slightly steadier. The eye contact is slightly longer. The body has accepted the instruction. The room responds to a body operating from the new set point. Doors open that were closed before. People treat the person differently because the body is broadcasting a different signal and the room is responding to the signal. A person silently reading the same statement for 90 days reports stagnation. The body received the instruction in a form that could only reach the top circle. The set point held where it was. The room responded to the broadcast it had been hearing for years. The voice was the difference. The words were the same. The voice was the carrier. You see why that changes things? The 5th gear is hypnotic rhythm. Hill named it in Chapter 12. Nature fixes all habits permanently through repetition. Think the same thoughts long enough, and they become permanent programming. Do the same act long enough, and it operates without conscious participation. This works for constructive habits and destructive ones equally. Nature installs what gets repeated. A single Aloud read makes a faint impression. The deeper mind receives the instruction and treats it as a one-time signal. By morning, most of the impression has faded. The dirt road has a faint mark and the next rain washes it out. An Aloud read repeated daily becomes something else. The impression made on day 2 lands on top of the residue from day 1. Day 3 lands on top of day 2. By day 10, a faint groove has been worn into the dirt road. By day 30, the groove is deep enough that the wagon wheels naturally find it. By day 90, the road has been carved permanently. By day 180, the road is the path of least resistance for everything that crosses the field. Hill prescribed twice daily for a precise reason. Morning is the receptive window when the conscious mind has not yet fully come online, and the deeper mind is still close to the surface. Night is the receptive window when the conscious mind is winding down and the last instruction received goes into sleep with you. The deeper mind works while you sleep. Whatever you fed at last continues running for hours after the body is gone still. A person who reads the statement once on a Wednesday afternoon and forgets about it for 2 weeks has made one faint groove that the next thing the inner mind absorbed has already filled in. A person who reads the statement aloud morning and night for 30 days has made 60 grooves on the same path. By day 30, the path is permanent. By day 90, it is the default. By day 180, it is the operating system. Picture a stream finding its way across a field after a long dry season. The first day the water moves across the field, it leaves a faint trace. The second day, the trace is slightly deeper. After a month of continuous flow, the field has a small channel cut into it. After a year, the channel is the riverbed. The water no longer chooses a new path each day. The path is set 5 minutes daily of allowed reading is the continuous flow. Twice daily is the flow morning and evening. The riverbed is the new program running underneath everything else. This is the threshold the lineage has been pointing at for nearly a century. 30 days is where the automatic execution begins. 90 days is where the new pattern feels like home. After 90 days, the person reading the statement aloud has stopped making an effort to remember it. The statement has become part of who they are. The body knows the words. The filter is set to the query. The set point has moved. The instruction is something they are. Hill watched this in over 500 subjects. Nightingale distilled it into a recording that sold over 1 million copies in 1956. Proctor lived it personally. He went from earning $4,000 a year to $175,000 in a single year after he started reading a passage from Think and Grow Rich daily. He later earned over $1 million in a single year. The riverbed had been carved deep enough that the water flowed there without any effort to direct it. The repetition was the carver. The duration was the carver. Everything else was downstream. Stay with me. The 6th gear is the last one. The 6th gear is the broadcasting station. Every brain is both a transmitter and a receiver of thought frequency. The frequency you broadcast determines what you attract. Hill spent the most time on this principle in Chapter 12. The lineage figures kept coming back to it. The mind is an instrument that participates in something larger than itself. A person sitting in a room broadcasts a frequency based on what the deeper mind is running. The frequency travels invisibly. The room responds to it. Other people respond to it. Opportunities respond to it. What looks like coincidence from the outside is the frequency finding its match. A person carrying a definite purpose impressed on the deeper mind daily for 5 minutes broadcasts a different signal than the person they were when the practice began. The signal carries the content of the instruction. The signal travels. The signal attracts what matches it. This is the part the lineage taught with the most certainty and the part modern listeners hold at the most distance. The mechanics operate by law, regardless. A person carrying conviction about a specific outcome handles every conversation differently. The handling is the signal. The signal reaches people who are already in motion towards something the person needs and reaches them in a way that makes the meeting feel inevitable. A person carrying nothing definite broadcasts nothing definite. The room responds to the absence the same way it responds to the presence. Nothing in particular arrives. Nothing in particular calls. The trees grow whatever the underground river is feeding them, and the river feeds whatever has been dropped into it most recently. Picture 2 radio transmitters in the same field. One broadcasts on a clear frequency, the same signal every day, repeated for 90 days. The other broadcasts a mix of static and fragments, never the same signal twice. Receivers in the area pick up the first one easily. The second one is hard to find and easy to miss. The first transmitter draws responses. The second one passes through. The 5-minute Aloud read is the operator setting the transmitter to a specific frequency and holding it there for 90 days while the signal travels. That right there, that is the whole game. The application window for the broadcast is the one people miss most often. A person who has carried a definite purpose and pressed daily for 90 days reports that things start happening that look like coincidence. A stranger mentions the exact opportunity they had been holding in mind. A book falls open to the page that contains the next step. A person they had not seen in years calls with a piece of information they needed. From the outside, the pattern looks like luck. From inside the architecture, the frequency is finding its matches because the frequency has been steady long enough to be received. A person broadcasting nothing in particular gets nothing in particular. The room offers what the broadcast attracts. The room cannot offer what nothing has been asked of it. Subscribe if you want more of this. We teach from Carnegie, Hill, Nightingale, Proctor, and the full lineage, and we go this deep every single time. So we have walked through the 6 gears, bridge, channels, filter, body, groove, broadcast, all running simultaneously during 5 minutes of Aloud reading with feeling. One more thing before we close. The silent read makes a faint trace that fades by morning. It engages one channel for a short duration without the bridge fully open, without the body participating, without the repetition needed to wear the groove. A person who has read silently for years and seen nothing change is applying effort to a mechanism that requires more inputs than it has been given. The Aloud read for 5 minutes daily is the same instruction delivered through the architecture the way the architecture was built to receive it. Hill documented the architecture across 20 years of observation on 500 lives. The architecture operated in every successful person he interviewed, whether they understood it or not. The ones who understood it and used it deliberately got faster results. The ones who used it without understanding still got results, because the mechanism produces results based on use. Understanding accelerates use. Understanding does not replace it. This is what we do here. A person who has done the Aloud read for 90 days operates in a different mechanical position than they were on day 1. The change runs deeper than feeling. The bridge is open. The channels are firing. The filter is retuned. The body is participating. The groove is carved. The broadcast frequency is shifted. The world responds to the new frequency. The trees draw from the new river. The room hears the new station playing through the radio in the corner. Imagine a small room with a small radio in the corner. The radio has been on for as long as the operator can remember. The dial was set by someone else a long time ago. A parent, a teacher, a childhood event. The station playing has been the same station the operator has heard since before they knew there was a dial. The operator has lived a whole life inside the sound of that one station. A definite purpose statement is a new station the operator has decided to find on the dial. Silent reading is glancing at the dial and walking away with the old station still playing. 5 minutes Aloud is putting the hand on the dial, slowly turning it, holding it on the new frequency, and listening to the new station fill the small room. Doing it daily means the dial stays on the new station even when the operator is out of the room. By day 30, the dial holds. By day 90, the operator has lived inside the new station long enough that the old station is the room. The old programming is the memory of a room the operator used to live in. That is the machinery during 5 minutes of Aloud reading. Bridge open. Channels firing. Filter retuned. Body participating. Groove worn. Frequency shifted. The lineage mapped this nearly 90 years ago through observation alone. 20 years and over 500 interviews on the commission Carnegie gave in 1908. 6 words distilled by a man whose recording earned the first spoken word gold record in 1956. 60 years of teaching the same architecture by a man who lived the transformation from 4,000 a year to over 1 million in a single year. They mapped the territory. Modern instruments later confirmed the map. The map was always there. The 5 minutes is the operator of a machine, sitting alone in a small room, putting the hand on a dial that has been waiting longer than the operator knows. The dial has always been there. The deeper mind has always been listening. The architecture has always been built this way. The radio in the corner of the small house at the edge of a field has been playing the same station for so long that the operator forgot the station was chosen. The dial is still there. The hand is still capable. The room is still listening. 5 minutes. 1 sentence. Spoken slowly, with feeling, twice a day. The gears engage. The instruction crosses. The river takes the seed. The trees come up in a season the operator did not expect them in, growing differently than they have ever grown. Drawing from a source the operator finally remembered they had been the one to feed.